You are listening to the CittaCalcioUsa show, the only news and podcast in English about AS Cittadella. Hello everyone, welcome back to the CittaCalcioUsa show, episode number 137, coming to you on Tuesday, August 13th. Cittadella out of the Coppa Italia first round after a 2-1 defeat to Sassuolo on the weekend. But no need to worry now because we are getting ready for the league opener against Salernitana this upcoming weekend. We have some transfer news to talk about, as well as previewing the Salernitana match, as well as talking about the Sassuolo game. To help, we are happy that he's back. We had him a few months ago, towards the end of last season, but we're happy to have him back once again. It's Carlo Cecino from Il Corriere del Veneto. So, Carlo, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hi, Jake. I'm good. I'm very happy to coming back here in your podcast to talk about Cittadella, first game in Coppa Italia, next game the debut in Serie A, transfer market. So a lot of things to talk about.
Yeah, we're happy to have you here as well. Like I was telling you a little moments before we started, is we had a great chat last time. I think it was around that Como match where Cittadella lost, and I think it was they were just about to miss out on playoffs. So it's been it's only been 2-3 months, but it feels like a lot has changed in the Cittadella world. And it was actually funny because that Como match, I actually was watching the highlights yesterday because that was recommended to me just randomly out of YouTube, and I was just remembering how close they were to winning that game and really should have won that game, where Pitarello had the game of his life. But nothing we could do right now, and only focusing on the new season. But Carlo, once again, thank you for joining us once again. How have you been these last few weeks covering Cittadella, the team? Were you able to watch the Sassuolo game this past weekend, and how's it been going?
Yes, there were 3 weeks, 3 intense weeks, because now Cittadella is ready to start a new season in Serie B. I watched the game against Sassuolo. I was so curious to observe the new signings, first of all, because when there are new players in the squad in Cittadella, I think every fan is curious to watch which player is that Marchetti bought this summer. You know that Cittadella had bought 7 players, because Ravaglio is the last signing. And the last game, in the first game of the season against Sassuolo, 4 new signings played: Masciangelo, Rabbi, Casolari, and De Jobus. If you want to start talk about this game, do you agree with me? I don't know.
Yeah, well, I was, I just wanted to do like a little check-in there. But before we kind of get into the game analysis part and, talking more about the Sassuolo match on Friday, I wanted to ask you, since we last talked, obviously it was at the end of last season. So we've had a kind of a new season to kind of think about. How would you assess this summer for Cittadella in terms of the mercato, the preseason games? How would you evaluate it as of now?
So, firstly, I think that Cittadella wants to give to Mr. Gorini another chance to show his potential as a manager, because the second part of the last season wasn't so good for Cittadella, and
disaster.
It was a disaster. The worst streak for Cittadella, with 8 defeats in a row. So during the summer, I always thought that Marchetti wanted to confirm Gorini as coach of Cittadella, but there is the mercato, transfer market, some gossip, I don't know, maybe some
rumors,
voices,
yeah.
rumors, yes, about Gorini maybe doesn't stay. Maybe there are some other coach that could start a new adventure with Cittadella, but Marchetti wants to give another opportunity to Gorini because he believes in Gorini. He knows Gorini how can work with Cittadella, not only Gorini but all the staff, because Cittadella is like a family. And firstly, this is the first milestone about the new season. Then the transfer market, for me, the Pittarello has gone to Catanzaro. For me, it isn't so easy to replace Pittarello because, as we said the first time we talked about Cittadella in May, I remember that we agreed that Pittarello was probably the most important player for Cittadella and the way of play by Cittadella, because it was the only Pittarello could play as in striker position as Gorini wanted, because he could keep the ball, he could go. He is fast. He can score goals. So it was the most important striker. And during this transfer window, Marchetti bought three different strikers, because Rabbi maybe it is faster than the other striker, but I don't know if he's the right profile that can score a lot of goals during the season. It is always it is more like number 10, not a poor striker. And the last signing is Ravasio. I think that Ravasio is the Pittarello replacement in the field, because he's tall, about 1.85 meters. He can score goals, because last season for Sorrento he scored 12 goals in Serie C. For him was the first season with more than 10 goals. And he's fast. He can keep ball. I think that it could be the right striker for Cittadella to play near Pandolfi. I think that Ravasio and Pandolfi could be the two strikers that will play a lot of games next season that is coming. And then I like the player that is Casolari, because I think that Casolari is number 4 front of the defense, and he can move the ball. He can make assists from midfield. He can lead the team, because he can. I think that he could be, after 3 years, the replacement of Fiori. Because
wow, big statement.
No, I know, but watching his style of play, then it is very young. It isn't like Fiori, but as he played, I remember Iori. I don't know why, but I think that he has such Iori vibes in something that he do with the ball. He does with the ball. I know. I saw Iori's skirt.
Yeah, I have his shirt in the back.
Because during these last 3 years, Cittadella hadn't a player that could take Iori heritage. Because there was Danzi, but Danzi, we saw that he isn't good for Serie B and Cittadella. He played some games Pavan, but Pavan now is the most important defender of the team. And for me, in my opinion, Marchetti chose Casolari because he can play like Chiori played for Cittadella.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the Casolari game against Sassuolo. And I hope that he could make an important season because he's very young, he's 21 years old. It's the first season for him in Serie B, but I think he has the right mentality to stay in Serie B and play an important role for Cittadella in the next season. Then another important signing is Masciangelo. Masciangelo played all the friendlies in preseason from the first minute. Then he was in the lineup in Sassuolo game. For me, he has an important skills when he go in attack. When he goes in attack, he has important skills. He can dribble. He can do right cross. But when he has to defend, maybe he's not so perfect as we saw in Sassuolo game in the first goal. So I think it was an important summer for Cittadella. Now Marchetti is working to, I don't know, sorry, Cessioni.
To maybe like solidify like a core.
Sell, yeah, to sell some
I
players.
remember Enrico Leo was kind of telling me he thought that Marchetti was kind of trying to rebuild a young core for the next few years that could
yes.
build on that.
Yes,
so that's why you see like, you know, the young signings like Casolari, De Sogus, De Alicio, Tronkin, all those players, you know, in their early 20s, getting playing time in Serie B, I think is important.
Rabbit, who is 23 years old. Yes, Marchetti decided to buy young players because maybe there are two players not so young in the current squad. In fact, as I think you know, today Carriero has gone to Trapani in Serie C, and news about 1 hour ago is that Frare could go to Triestina.
I was just you know, that was just about what I was about to touch on. And I think, you know, Frare, I saw an Instagram post by Simone Branca yesterday, and he said, I wish you the best, and was a selfie with him and Frare.
Yes,
so it does seem like Frare is going out the door. But yes, Giuseppe Carriero completing the transfer to Trapani, same team as where Mastrantonio actually went to earlier this summer. So that's where Carriero will be. And yeah. So I mean, I agree with you. I do like I did like Casolari in that match, and you know, I think he was playing in that kind of defensive midfielder role. I don't know the exact word in Italian which you say for that, but in that kind of role that Iori was playing back in the days with Venturato, and like back in those days where Iori played that play, it was actually Branca who was playing offside him, and that's these last under Guarini, Branca's been playing in that role that Iori's been playing. So it will be interesting to see. Maybe Branca goes back into that kind of role that he was playing originally with Fiore by his side, and maybe Branca could play more upfield and get in the attack more like he used to be, alongside Vita maybe. It'll be interesting to see, but you know, I think it was a good impression for Casolari. One thing before I want to touch upon before we kind of talk more about the Sassuolo game is, you know, when we were talking last, we were talking about, you know, Guarini, his future with Cittadella. It was uncertain, but he did renew his contract. So one question, how much pressure do you think is on Guarini to get the best from this team this year? Because he is once again resigned, but it's only 1 year contract. So what do you think is the expectations for Guarini?
So there are some fans that are not too happy with Gorini renewal contract, but I think that the most part of Cittadella fans are happy with Gorini renewal because, you know, every year the most important goal for Cittadella is to stay in Serie B. And during these 3 years, Gorini matched this goal. Now, I know that in 2021, Cittadella was just one goal away to go in Serie A against Venezia in playoff final. But if you have to watch the squad list, the Cittadella squad list, when you read all the names, the first thing I think everything could think is that Cittadella has to stay in Serie B, not to go in Serie A. And for me, Gorini, yes, has, I think, maybe much pressure because the last part of the last season, I think that every club maybe could resign Gorini because Cittadella is the only club that maybe could maintain Gorini in that role. Now, I think that the first games in this season will be so important for Gorini future because, you know, if Cittadella start again with an important long streak of defeats, I don't know, maybe some questions about Gorini's future. Marchetti and President Gabrielli has to make it because if you take just the second part of the last season, Cittadella should go in Serie C.
Yeah, they're relegated.
And I think that the first 10 games of Serie B that is coming, will be important for Gorini, for Cittadella, and for the future of Gorini. Then I don't know if Gorini feel much pressure on his shoulders. Maybe yes, but when everybody wants to maybe know another Cittadella coach, you have to ask you, but which coach Cittadella could take over Gorini, which could be the right profile, because, you know, Marchetti, Cittadella usually take some managers that maybe were in Serie C, or some managers that were assistant manager, so assistant coach, sorry. And so it's not so easy, I think, for every fan to make this question, because maybe if you have a fan about another club, if the club could lose 4 games in a row, usually fans who want to change coach, first thing to do, change coach. But in Cittadella is different, as you know.
Yeah, that's definitely you know, especially after that 8-game losing streak. I think at any other club, the coach would get the sack, but you know, considering it was you know, Cittadella has a different way of doing things. That's why Guarini stayed. But I agree. As long as, you know, Cittadella aren't really in the picture of getting relegated, I think Guarini will stay. And you know, some fans will, you know, will be okay with that, and some fans won't, because you know, they want you know, more ambition and more
Yes.
you know, kind of going back to when Venturato was here and doing all the miracles he could. So I agree. It's going to be interesting 10 games, I'd say. And you know, Cittadella are on the road for 3 of their first 4 games, as the Tombolato still needs some work.
Yes.
So it'll be very interesting to see that. Anyway, moving on a little bit to the Coppa Italia match this last Friday, Cittadella going out of the Coppa Italia against Sassuolo. Uh, I wrote some game notes that what I saw throughout the game. It was interesting because I thought Branca was going to start, but he did not. He did not. It was Casolari who actually got the start in that defensive role, like we were just discussing. The formation was interesting because the TV, the broadcast, and all the apps said it was a 4-4-2. I kind of I did you know exactly what formation it was? Could you tell it was?
Yes, he's the same 4-3-1-2.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes. Branca didn't play in the lineup by first minute because he was ill during the preseason,
Hmm.
and for this reason, Branca didn't play by first minute, and Casolari played in lineup.
Hmm.
The defensive midfielder. We call that position in Italian regista,
Yeah,
like
that's what I was.
director.
La Regista. Okay. So yeah, Castello already played in that Regista role.
Yes.
That's
Then Amatucci and I
Vita,
don't
I
remember.
believe.
Yes, Amatucci and Vita, that was captain, playing the midfield with Casolari. Then Baldini was number 10, and the two strikers were Rabbi and Zogus. We were just curious because we didn't think that Rabbi could start the lineup in the first game of the season, because Rabbi arrived in Cittadella just 9 days before the Sassuolo game, and
Yeah.
everybody were thinking that Magrassi started by the first minute, because Magrassi played every friendly in the preseason, scored a lot of goals in preseason, but Gorini surprised us with Rabbi and Dezogus in striker
Mhm.
positions.
Yeah.
And in the four defenders were Salvi, because Carissoni is not fit,
Mhm.
just not an important injury, but it was Coppa Italia, so Gorini prefer to play with Salvi and non Carissoni.
Mhm.
Then Pavan and Angeli as
Mhm.
central defenders, and Masciangelo as right back, left right back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, with saying that, I thought Salvi played a very good game. I thought in the first half he really did a good job on. He had his hands full with Luriente on that right side, and I thought he did really well. Obviously you're gonna look at it and say, well, Luriente did get that goal, but I thought for the most of the game, especially in that first half, he was kept very
First
quiet,
time, yes.
and I thought Salvi was very good. De Sogus, I thought it really impressed me in this game. I thought he was very, lively, very good with the ball,
Yes.
explosive. And I thought, his natural position in what he's been playing is more as a winger. So I thought it was interested to see he did get in those wide spaces a lot and did get, he ended up getting that assist, even though it was, just a simple pass to Baldini on that goal. But De Sogos, I thought, played well. Catolari, like we were mentioning, I thought he played really well. Rabi, the thing is, like we said, Robbie was introduced to this team just a few days before the Coppa Italia, so I don't think there was a lot of time to really get that
Yes.
chemistry going with the other players. He only had one touch in the opposition box in that first half, so it wasn't not a lot of action from Robbie. But one thing that I noticed in this game, and I talked about this before the match, and I'm still going to say it's that you can't take really a lot from this game because it is
Oh,
the
yes.
first game of the season. It's early August, and even if it is obviously a good chance to see where teams are at currently, but you can't make any full conclusions from these types of games because, a team could win and pull off a shock upset, and they could still have a really poor season. And that's what, Spezia did that, winning in the cup in the first round last season. And, look what happened to
Yes.
them. So it still can't take much from this. And I don't think many people should get too, worried or upset about this match. But I did notice that the energy was lacking on both sides. It was really showing from, I think that's because both teams were still getting in that preseason form.
Yes.
Still, the weather
Was
could have played
very,
an issue.
very, yes, the weather affected the game.
Still very hot, and I thought it looked a bit slow out there. It looked a bit sloppy on both ends, but I think that's normal when you consider the timing, the preseason. It usually always like this in the cup. So those were kind of my takes on this game. But do you have any other notes or key thoughts that you want to share about this Sassuolo match?
Yes, for me, the good news is the performance that showed Baldini. Because, Baldini, 2 years ago, when he was fit, he was an important player for Cittadella because he could score a lot of goals, he can shoot, he can dribble. I think he is the most skilled player in the squad, maybe with Cassano, De Zogos. It is this kind of player, and if Baldini gets fit during the season, I think that it's like another signing in summer window, because Baldini last year played few games, I don't know, maybe 10 games, just he scored one goal, the penalty against Catanzaro, but he didn't play a lot of games. And I think that this could be I
Like
don't
a
want to say
restart.
revenge season, but
Yeah.
restart season for him, because he suffered a lot to stay 1 year injured. Last year, maybe everybody in Cittadella thought that Baldini could start and could play more games, but he had little injury during the season. But now I saw an important match by Baldini because he made a goal, but I think it was the best player of Cittadella in the game, and he played in number 10 position. And I remember that during the last 2-3 years, Baldini was one of two strikers, not number 10 position. Maybe when he played with Antonucci, they changed position during the game.
Mm-hmm.
But in lineup, Baldini was one of two strikers, and in this game played as a number 10. And I think that Casolari and Baldini had good connections during the game. Also, Baldini and De Zogos, as you said before, had the good connections. They can feel the game, each other, and I think it's the important news for Cittadella and also for Baldini too, because I think he's the first person that wants to show his potential. That 2 years ago Baldini scored 11 goals. If the brace against Como, I remember, in the last game of the season, and then he has the injury. So I think that is important news. Then as you said, I think that the weather affected the game in an important manner, because in second half both squads was very tired because the sun, the hot, the pre-season, early August, the 6 p.m. and not 9 p.m.
Not a full stadium, like only like
Not a full
maybe
stadium. Yeah.
30% capacity.
Yes. Then the Coppa Italia is not an important competition, as you know, for in Italy. Coppa Italia is not important as FA Cup in England. But I think that Cittadella wanted to win the game because the last 3 years, Cittadella in the first round beat Monza, beat Lecce, beat Empoli. So I think that Cittadella wanted to beat another time an important team, in this case Sassuolo. There were some mistakes, some defensive mistakes, because the first goal, I think that the defenders maybe made some mistakes in the first goal. Masciangelo, when he had to take the Sassuolo striker Bairami, if I remember what was Bairami,
Yes, I think it was Bairami who got the assist
made
to
assist
Mulattieri.
to assist Mulattieri. And in the second goal, I think the first mistake about Casolari, because Lorientè had too much time to defend, keep the ball, and then to shoot and on goal. Casolari maybe could make foul or take a yellow card to stop Lorientè, because Lorientè is a talent, and in Serie B, Lorientè I think could make the difference. And then Rabbi, I don't know how to describe Rabbi's game, because he was the first game for Cittadella. He arrived 10 days ago before the game, and I think it isn't the striker, number 9 striker. He is a player that wants to go in wide spaces, as you know, and maybe to go over the defenders and to run. And Gorini maybe asked Rabbi to keep the ball, to gain meters, and it isn't his first. It isn't so good to make the things. And I think that Ravasio could be that player. Okay, not Rabbi. And like maybe was Gorini wanted to watch Rabbi if he could be suited to his style of play, to Cittadella way of play.
Yeah, and you know, like we've been saying, you know, we got to take these first few games with a grain of salt, because it is still so early in the season, and you're not really going to see what this team, I think, is going to be looking like for the rest of the season until maybe you were saying 10 games, but you know, like maybe after the 6th match day, I think definitely by October we should really see what this team you know, is going to really look like, because you know, I think Ravasio, I don't know if he's going to be starting against the Salernitana match, but I definitely think you could see him come in as a substitute in that role. But yeah, speaking of that Salernitana match, we could go right into that, talking about that, if you have anything else to say about that Sassuolo game.
No, it's good to talk about next game.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So this upcoming match, Giornata 1, match day 1 for the Serie B season, for Cittadella's season, it is against Salernitana, August 17th, 8 p.m. or 8:30 p.m. local time, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here in the United States. The Stadio Orecchi in Salerno, who just played last night against Spezia in the Coppa Italia. It did look like the field was not in the greatest shape. There was a lot of rough patches at that stadium, so it'll be interesting to see what the field conditions will be looking like at the Stadio Orecchi. But this is the first meeting between Salernitana and Cittadella in over 3 years. The last game was a 0-0 draw at the Tombolato back in March of 2021. Citta with a 9 wins, 5 draws, and 7 losses against Salernitana all time. I really don't know what Salernitana will look like this season because coming down from Serie A, like it's hard to really say where they're going to finish because a lot of people might be saying, well, they're going to be in the conversation of getting relegated back down to Serie C. I don't know much about Giovanni Martuccello.
Martuscello.
Martuscello.
Martuscello. Yes.
Martuscello as a coach, but I really don't know what to expect from this Salernitana team. They still have Bouladia, who is probably their danger man up front, and yeah, I unfortunately I don't know much about this Salernitana team, and I don't really know what to expect. So, do you have what do you think? Do you have any thoughts about this upcoming game, and what do you really expect from this team?
So now is the 13th of August, and I think that Salernitana in the 1st of September could be another phase because they bought and they will sell a lot of players because Boulayedia, that is the most important striker for Salernitana, could go to Lazio. Yesterday he played, he scored 2 goals, but Salernitana fans aren't so happy with Boulaye Dia because last season Dia wanted to go away from Salernitana, but Salernitana didn't sell him. So now he played yesterday, but he could go to Lazio. And Martuscello, he was for 2 years, a lot of years, the assistant coach of Maurizio Sarri in Empoli, in Lazio, in Naples, in Juventus. So Martuscello played like Sarri. So Salernitana will play with the 4-3-3. There are 3 strikers, 3 midfielders, and 4 defenders. They bought an important player today, Daniele Verde.
From Spezia. I was just looking.
Yes, that last year in Spezia, Verde made a brace against Cittadella with an important goal by free kick in Spezia game. That was an happy game for Cittadella. Then they bought Callon, Yaya Callon, and Braff. Braff is a talented player, a striker, and I think that in Serie B, Braff could score goals and make the difference. But Salernitana had big issues this summer to subscribe in Serie B because they had some economic issues, and the club they took Sottil as manager.
I remember that.
Sottil decided to resign his contract just after 3 days. He signed for Salernitana for these economical issues. And then they decided to give Martuscello the role of manager. I don't know what to expect about from Salernitana. So if you read the players, it's an important team for Serie B because they had the Maggiore, that is in midfielder, that he played the last 3 seasons in Serie A. He had Sepe as goalkeeper. He's very expert and played in Serie A the last 5 seasons. Then they had Braff, Callon, Verde, Amatucci.
The other Amatucci.
The other Amatucci. He's midfielder like our Amatucci, and yesterday he played an important game in midfield for Salernitana.
Koulibaly.
Yes, Koulibaly. There are Mamadou and Lassana Koulibaly. Lassana Koulibaly has gone to Lecce in Serie A. So he's Mamadou Koulibaly. That is very. I remember that Mamadou Koulibaly scored a goal against Cittadella 2 years ago when he played for Ternana in Tombolazzo.
Yeah, I remember that too.
Yeah, it was a defeat for Cittadella. So Arechi, the pitch of Arechi is not in good conditions, as you said. So fans is not so happy for the team because they were coming down from Serie A. They had these issues during the summer. I don't know. Maybe Cittadella could take a win because if Cittadella played with the intensity that they usually make on the pitch, and if Cittadella doesn't make defensive mistakes, could take an important win. But I don't know because Salernitana is a mystery.
Yeah,
You don't know how to expect from them.
They're really like a wild card because they could finish in the playoff zone, but they could also
Yes.
could see them almost fighting for the relegation. So I have really no clue. They also have Simi up front, which I kind of forgot
Oh
about.
yes.
But Simi, the goal scoring machine, even for Crotone a few years ago,
Totally.
but he hasn't really lived up to that
I,
same expectation with
I
Salernitana.
yes, I think Simi could be sold in the next days because yesterday he didn't play if I'm not wrong. So there are a lot of players that could sell, a lot of players that Salernitana could buy because there are 2 intense weeks for Salernitana management.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Arek is a hot stadium because they have a 15,000 fans usually. Maybe not this first game, but when Salernitana the last 2 years in Serie A played in important games to stay in Serie A was about 15-20,000 people in the stadium, and this feature could affect the game. I don't know, maybe after the win against Spezia, there are two fans are happier and could help the team. It's a mystery. It could be a surprise.
Yeah, and that's why, this beginning of the season, it's always kind of a mystery, even,
Yes.
for Cittadella and for like a lot of teams, because there are some teams where you have like a lot of expectations and they suddenly don't do well. And other teams where you expect them to finish down in the relegation zone and they end up doing pretty well. So
Yeah.
I'm really curious to see where this Cittadella team is going to be lining up. They've had that first game under their belts against Sassuolo, and so it's really interesting to see. I'm interested to see if Ravasio is going to play. My prediction is he's going to start on the bench and possibly come into the game in the second half, probably for one of those strikers, whether that's Pandolfi or Magrassi, someone up front, even if De Sogus. So it'll be very interested to see that game. I'm hoping I'm hoping that I could watch it because there's still some uncertainty about the TV deal. Although yesterday we had a big breakout was
Yes.
the DAZN renews their contract until 2027. DAZN going to be streaming all the games. Unfortunately, it is very hard to access it from the United States, and our faith is in Sky's hands because that's how we watched it last season and it worked really well. So I'm really hoping Sky could pull through. They're saying that, the deal is almost done. There still needs a little more negotiations, but it should be done pretty soon. But I hope it is done before this weekend so we could watch the game.
Mhm.
There's also Oh yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if Sky take rights of Serie B before the weekend. I read online that Sky should make the offer to take TV rights for Serie B after the first break in September. But it's something that I read online. So I don't know, maybe they could make the offer before this Saturday, but if Sky don't make the offer, you know that he could take the rights in the first day of September after the first break.
Yeah, and Amazon Prime was also discussion. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. No, I'm not happy about that because it's not right that this debate has to be resolved after the first games of Serie B. I think that this debate had to be solved in the first day of August at maximum, not in the first days of September. But in Italy, it's not like in other countries.
Yeah, I really wish this was resolved earlier, and it's really they're making a huge blunder out of this, and I mean, at least DAZN has picked up the rights, so at least some people in Italy could watch it, but even still, people are not happy because DAZN has had some problems in the past with broadcasting and it not working. It's also very expensive. I heard it's, correct me if I'm wrong, but
Yes.
€70 a month or 50
That's,
euros a month. Yeah.
They raised the prices, but the quality is not raised of product by DAZN, and it's an important problem in Italy. I don't know how they could fix this problem. So, if you read, maybe Amazon Prime could make an offer for Serie B.
Yep.
To,
Maybe once again after the September break, the international break.
To show some games during the weekend, some Serie B games during the weekend. And I have to submit DAZN, but it's not so cheap. I don't know. I think that the best was when Sky detained all the rights of Serie A, Serie B, and Champions League. And in this way, you have to submit some different broadcasters. Yes, they are not cheap. They are expensive. It's a matter for everybody in Italy.
Yeah. Well, it's all this time is just making me miss Helbit's Live because they were really lifesavers here in the US because they broadcasted all the games, all in high definition, no issues, and they were only offering it for $50 for the entire season. So for $50 here, you'd get every single match, you'd get all the playoffs, all the playouts. So I miss Helbit's Live terribly. So, but hopefully it gets resolved in this next few days. But if not, then I don't know how I'm going to be able to watch the match against Salernitana or the next match Brescia or Pisa. So, fingers crossed on that. But before we go, I just kind of want to, since the season is starting, I want to read you my final season predictions. Obviously, the window is still not closed, so a lot of changes could happen to this. I did share my predictions in the Speaking Serie B program that I'm doing with Elia from Speziato on another show that we're doing. I didn't. That was in July, so some things have changed, but it's mostly the more or less the same predictions I have. Just some minor adjustments that
Yeah.
I've kind of changed my mind. But I'm gonna read mine, but then and actually, Carlo, do you have any predictions where Cittadella is going to finish, or just in general, teams that will get relegated, teams will get promoted? What's your thoughts on it?
So I hope, firstly, I hope that Cittadella could stay in Serie B. I think that my prediction is that Cittadella could stay in the mid of the table, but if some player gets injured, maybe they could make another defeat, the strike defeat of the fifth, and so in that period could be a problem. So the most important thing for Cittadella is to gain more possible points in the first part of the season, because Cittadella knows very well Serie B. So in the first game they could make some wins, some important result, and they could keep that points for the second part of the season. This is my prediction for Cittadella. And about the other teams, so it's not easy because maybe I
Yeah.
say one thing and then it happened the opposite, totally different, maybe in the next year. I think that Carrarese and Juve Stabia will finish in the relegation zone. Maybe Mantova could make an important tournament, not like Catanzaro last year, but they could stay in mid of the table. And in this moment, the best team for me are Sampdoria and Cremonese. Because Sampdoria, both Tutino and Coda, the two best strikers in Serie B, and Cremonese last year they lost playoff final, so they were so close to going Serie A. They keep all the best players of last season. Yes, Coda went to Sampdoria, but they have other important strikers, and I think that Cremonese. I read that Cremonese could buy Nasty in attack.
That would be
important, good option. So, and other teams, I don't know. Salernitana, it's a mystery, as we said. Then Sassuolo, yes, Sassuolo could make an important tournament. Grosso won Serie B 2 years ago with Frosinone, so Sassuolo, I think, will be in the playoff position. But we have to know if Pinamonti and Loriente will stay in Sassuolo, because if Sassuolo sold Pinamonti and Loriente, so there are two important players.
And don't forget, Domenico Berardi should be back for the second
Domenico
part of the
Berardi,
season.
yes.
So it'll be interesting to see if he gets fit. He can make a late push with the team. So that's interesting for Sassuolo.
Yeah. Then the other teams, it's too early to know their position in the table. Südtirol could stay in middle of the table. Spezia maybe could make a different tournament, not the same of last year. Then we have Brescia. Brescia has a good team. They could be they could make an important tournament as well. Then I don't remember Frosinone coming down by Serie A. They have Vivarini as manager. Was the most improved manager last year with Catanzaro. So we have to watch Frosinone, but I don't know if Frosinone, yes, could go in playoff zone, but I don't know if Frosinone could come back in Serie A. But maybe you don't agree with me.
Oh, no. I these predictions are definitely going to be wrong by the end of the season.
Yes.
They're definitely, so we're just saying it just for the fun of it, and then by the end of the season we could either laugh at it or kind of seem like a genius when it comes to from these predictions. But no, I mostly more or less agree with you with these, some of these predictions. Obviously, it's very hard to pinpoint exactly where a team will finish, but you can definitely say for some teams, okay, they should finish at least in the playoff zone, or they should be kind of towards the bottom of the table. I kind of just wrote out where the teams will be in exact positions. I don't know how accurate this is going to be, but for this, I'm going to be saying 20th Carrarese, 19th Reggiana, 18th Juve Stabia, 17th Cosenza, 16th Salernitana, 15th Catanzaro. Then we got Mantova, Modena, Cittadella, Südtirol, Bari, and Brescia. And then for the playoffs, I have Pisa, Cesena, Spezia, Sassuolo, Sampdoria, and Frosinone. And then the top two, I have Palermo and Cremonese. So more or less kind of what you've said. Obviously, the mid-table is it's going to be so close. Like, I don't think a lot is going to separate 15th
like last season.
like Cittadella finished 14th, but they were really 1 point away from finishing 10th or 9th. So I definitely expect a better season from Bari. Brescia are going to be a solid team.
I forgot Palermo.
Yeah, well, Palermo, definitely, I think with the City Football Group money rolling in, I think they're going to be strong favorites to be promoted. I'm really liking what Cesena are doing. I think they're going to be kind of similar to Catanzaro from last season. They have a good, solid core, good stadium. I really like their, I think a good fan base and good stadium is really important. And also, Magnani from previous season with Bari, he did very well. So I think Cesena will do well. Pisa, I was thinking about putting the mid-table, but I think with people Inzaghi there, I think he will know and just snake them into
Pisa these days bought a lot of important players. They bought Veris from Sampdoria, and they are on the verge of signing Lapadula.
Yeah,
if Pisa will sign Lapadula in Serie B could score 20 goals.
Yeah, definitely. And Spezia is another team where I expect them to do much better now. I think D'Angelo is a very good coach, and I think they have like a really good team, and that last season was kind of a wake-up call. So I think they'll do well. For the relegation, I really don't know how it's going to be. I think Cosenza will stay up regardless of whether they finish playoffs or just above. Or Reggiana, I just kind of threw in there just, because I didn't really know what to expect. There's always one team where it's kind of like a shock in terms of the relegation. Last season, I think you saw maybe with Ascoli, because I didn't really expect them to go down in 18th. Same thing with Bari. Bari almost got relegated. So who knows what's going to happen? But I think
it's the beauty of Serie B. Because
Exactly.
Bari in 2022 were in playoff final, and 2023 was in playout final.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so different. So it's the beauty of Serie B. Marchetti said this thing every time. Serie B is the beautiful tournament because you don't know how to expect every year. It's so different year by year. And yes, I think that Catanzaro couldn't make a great season like the last one. I agree with you. And then Cesena could be the surprise of the season. They bought Antonucci, that we know very
They
well.
were thinking about Baldini, but
Yeah, they were
I don't
thinking
think it's
about
going to happen.
Baldini. No. Luckily for us, Baldini stay with Cittadella in that moment. But then, as you know, during transfer window, everything could happen just
yes.
hour by hour by hour.
Oh,
And
yes.
yes, I agree with you with the predictions. So I don't know. Last year, Como could be the surprise because I think that Como could go to playoffs, but not in
Directly.
the top two of
Yeah,
Serie
that's what I
B,
thought too.
directly in Serie A. And this year could be, I don't know.
Pisa.
I think
Maybe.
I
Who
think that
knows?
Sampdoria could go in Serie A, and Sampdoria has to go in Serie A.
Exactly.
For the club, for the history, and because they invested a lot of money to buy Tutino, they spent 4 or 5 million of euros, so an important value for him. And Cosenza, without Tutino, could make a payout. Yes.
Yeah.
I
But,
don't know that.
was saying the thing about Cosenza is they've been in Serie B for a long time now, and they always seem just to know how to get through it
Yes.
and survive, whether it's on the last day or
Survive.
the final kick. So I
Three
think,
play-out final. Cosenza survived in 3 play-out finals. So yes,
yeah,
they know how
exactly.
to stay in Serie B.
So yeah, for that reason, I think they'll be okay. But yeah, those are kind of my predictions. They're very likely to be wrong. And they're gonna be wrong, definitely. But for that, those are my predictions. But that's kind of all I kind of had for this podcast. And we went over the Sassuolo game, the summer for Cittadella, the Salernitana match, and talked about these preseason matches. But that's kind of all that I have here. Carlo, do you have anything else you want to add to that prediction list, or do you want to add to Salernitana match? Do you have anything else to add?
Yes, for Salernitana match, I think that Pandolfi is not ready to start the game, and he could go to bench, but Pandolfi is recovering from his shoulder injury. So I don't know if Pandolfi could play in first game of Serie B in the debut. Then Tronkin is recovering too by his injury. So I don't think that Tronchini will play next game. So as we said before, Frare is not available because he will go to Triestina, and Ravasio will, in my opinion, will start from the bench, and he could have some minutes during second half. Today I interviewed Ravasio for newspaper. I think that he is very motivated to show that he could play in Serie B, that he could do very well in Serie B. And he said to me that he's a striker that loves to go in wide spaces.
Very interesting.
It's his what he loves more to do in the pitch, and he scored 12 goals in Sorrento, and for him it was so important to have a confident. He was confident during the season because he played a lot. It was his first season as starter in the team, because in previous season for Lucchese he wasn't the starter striker for his previous coach. So I saw him in Cittadella, and I think he is very motivated, and I hope that he could do like Pandolfi last year. As you know, Pandolfi went to Cittadella from Juve Stabia in Serie C, and nobody was expecting to see Pandolfi score 8 goals, and he was stopped by a shoulder injury in the second part of the season. So Ravasio, I hope that he could make an important season like Pandolfi did last year. And I'm curious about the next game, because I want to know if Gorini will play another time with Rabbi and Ezogus as strikers. I don't think so, but you know, Gorini sometimes he like to surprise the position team with maybe some changes in the lineup. And for me, in this year, Cittadella could have more creativity in his strikers, because we forget Cassano, that is another the number 10 of Cittadella. And this year, Cittadella have Cassano, De Zogus, Baldini, Casolari, that has a lot of quality as a defensive midfielder. And as you said previously, I don't know if Branca maybe could play in his or a position that he played before last year.
The Regista role, yeah.
Yes. And yes, I'm curious about that, and I hope that Cittadella could make an important start of the season, and because if Cittadella will play well all season, could be good for Cittadella and for fans. You know, stadium is ready for the first game in August 27th against Pisa. Now there are last things to do as a bureaucratic process. And then Tombolato will reopen his doors to Cittadella fans. I think that you watch the videos on social about new pitch.
Oh yes, yeah. It looks awesome. You know, like I wish I was there to see it with my own eyes, and you know, because a little part of me is sad that the track is gone. Because I mean, I don't know if you know, just people from general public can just go there on any given day, and you know, that's what I did when I was there, and you know, I was able to walk on the track the day before the match. And you know, it was so surreal, just like being there, and just it was empty, but you know, I just feel just like all this time I've been watching, and you know, I'm finally there to, you know, soak it all in. And that was just an amazing experience. So
we're waiting for you next year.
I hope. I don't know. I can't guarantee it, but you know, I really hope I could make it out. And if not, you know, I'll be there in the near future, definitely, whether it's next year or the following year. But I'll make my way back to Cittadella, hopefully one day. But yeah,
we are lucky to have you with your CittaCalcioUsa, and I hope to see you next year, because you watch the videos. Then now Tribuna Est is so close to the pitch. You feel players close to you in Tribuna Est now.
Yeah. And it's it's great that the project is finally going on, because for years now they've been talking about a possible modernization of the stadium, and to see it finally happen, and they're making really good progress on the pitch and on the tribuna. It's so awesome to see, and I can't wait to see it in the opening game against Pisa, and then throughout the entire season. So really looking forward to that. But yeah, that's kind of it for the podcast. I think we've been talking for a little over an hour now, so I'm sure we're both getting a bit tired. But if you want to add anything else to this podcast, feel free to. If you have anything else.
I'm so happy to talk with you the second time. Now it's the first games of the season, so we are too excited to see how Cittadella will play in Serie B. And yes, another time I have to thank you for inviting me to your podcast. Yes, thank you very much, Jake. I appreciated a lot this chat with you, this long chat with you, and I hope to make another chat with you next month to talk about the Cittadella in important positions of the table.
Yep. Yeah. Hopefully they'll be fighting for playoffs or even better, and the top two. But we could only dream about that. But no doubt that you'll be on this podcast in the near future later this season. So thank you, Carlo, once again for joining this podcast. You could tell everyone where they could follow you on social media, or where they could follow you, your articles, or your work for Il Corriere del Veneto. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm writing for Corriere del Veneto, a local newspaper in Veneto. And yes, my Instagram profile is Carlo Cecino. And I'm not so social, but the fans who read my articles on Corriere del Veneto.
Okay, yeah, I'll put a link in the description for these news outlets, so people could go directly there if they wanted to. But that's going to be wrapping up this podcast for the episode 137 for the CittaCalcioUsa show. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at CittaCalcioUsa, and visit our website at CittaCalcioUsa.com for more articles and news. We've got season starting, so we have more articles pre-match and post-match about Cittadella's games. Cittadella facing Salernitana in Salerno on August 17th, 8:30 p.m. local time. It's 2:30 p.m. Eastern time on the eastern part of the United States at the Stadio Arecchi. First match of the season, and hoping for the best for Cittadella. For me and for Carlo Cecino, thank you for listening to this edition of the CittaCalcioUsa show. We will see you next week, and as always, Forza Citta. Thank you for listening to the CittaCalcioUsa show. If you liked it, please share and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at CittaCalcioUsa. See you next time, and remember, Forza Citta.